Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Prime Podcast. Hey, Dr. Julie.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
I'm not the bow tie chiropractor today.
You're the queued up doc.
Yeah, I'm rocking
Queued up.
this queued up polo. Did you say cute up? Because that fish like pretty much sums me up too.
Cutie bear, or what were you always? The sugar bear, sugar daddy?
Sugar bear.
Sugar bear.
Honey bear. That's what Peyton called me for a while.
Honey bear.
Yeah, honey bear.
Honey bear.
Well, I guess I'm the honey bear today. So coming at you, I guess that segues well because we are talking today. We talked about colic the last 2 episodes. Today is something that the public needs to fully understand going into the end of August here into September. And Honey Bear fixes it. It's sugar season. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Let's roll into this. Dr. Skip here, non-bow tie chiropractor today with Dr. Julie, talking sugar, coming at you. You know, Peyton used to call me the honey bear, right? Because of my tea and drinking honey and all that kind of stuff, right? I wasn't necessarily drinking honey, but I was putting it in my tea. And whether we're using honey, cane sugar, sugar in the raw, which I find is hilarious, organic cane sugar, white processed sugar. Bottom line is what?
It's sugar.
It's all sugar. That's right. And sugar causes massive inflammation. And I know that we've had these conversations. Actually, a few months back, we had talked about sugar being in everything. But I think it's something that we need to exclusively talk about right now because we are headed into what the public likes to call
I don't know. I like to call it like the sugar triangle.
The sugar triangle. So why don't you tell me about your sugar triangle?
Oh, well, it's back to school.
Yep.
So we have all the extra boogers and all of the sniffly kids. And so that's going to lower our immune response.
Yes.
And then if we have back to school lunches or if we're packing lunches in a hurry, maybe they're not the most up to par.
Nope.
But then next month is October, which means
September and
Halloween.
October. Yep.
So nobody eats Halloween candy. And then we have Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody likes their pumpkin pie and all those sweets. And then we're Christmas and more sugars and candy.
You're right. So September is leading into the massive sugar season. Sugar season is upon us.
It is.
Just like Huey Halloween with Adam Sandler. Halloween is upon us, you know? So we have to understand what this is going to do for the body and how it's going to affect everybody because super important with our kids. Because when they get back into school right now, end of August, beginning of September, right after Labor Day, they're going to get exposed to a myriad of little viruses and bacteria. Thousands of them because unless you've had your kids around their friends all summer, which for the most part doesn't necessarily happen anymore unless you live in a community where you're very tight-knit, a lot of your kids' friends are getting bussed into their schools. They're not really neighbors anymore. These communities have changed. They're not exposed like they should be, so they're all going to come home with a cold. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. But more importantly is their nutrition and diets change, which is absolutely imperative because when they have tremendous amounts of sugar, the immune system decreases very hard.
Well, we're already stressing the body based on a new routine for school, maybe lack of sleep, and now maybe we're stressed about what does school look like. Maybe we're middle school, high school. So all of those added stressors just in general is always going to deplete immune system. We're putting extra stress on the body.
Yep. So we get this rise in cortisol. That is the stress chemical or stress neurotransmitter in your body, which allows you to stay alive in a fight and allows you to run from a tiger or from a bear or protect your children.
But that doesn't happen too often, although we did have a bear in the city.
There was a bear in Green Bay. Yeah, 2 sightings within 12 hours. He was on one side versus the other. So apparently he's the Michael Phelps of black bears and can swim the Fox River, which I find hilarious. There's no way it was 2 bears. Unless he crossed the bridge, like Yogi, and found his boo-boo, like it's safe.
We have paddle boats all over.
This ain't happening. So getting back into that, running from bears if they're local in your community. But that chemical is not meant, that neurotransmitter is not meant to be there long term.
No.
Because it shuts systems down. And what it does directly is it shuts down the immune system. And sugar just amps it up. And I just saw the other day that at the end of August here, starting August 29th, guess what hits Starbucks?
Oh, man.
Pumpkin spice. So pumpkin spice lattes are now kicking out in Starbucks. And that is one of their number one sellers. And now is when they'll get into all of their hazelnut and chestnut drinks and all of those really, really heavy sugary concoctions. And they can have tremendous amounts of sugar in them.
We should have an episode of how we can, like, we can show how much sugar that is. We've done that in the past of how many
we were on the news
like
with that.
scoops and like cups of like when you actually look at how much sugar is in there.
Yep.
But then like our drops that we use, like we can get the same coffee drink with hazelnut drops, pumpkin drops.
What type of drops are you talking about though?
The sweet drops.
Exactly, the sweet drops. They're stevia, right? Yeah, they're stevia based sweet drops for all you Kairos out there too that listen. That stevia-based drops you can get in any form of flavor. Basically, they're in. You can use them with seltzer water too to flavor it, so it's similar to sodas, and you get that effervescence. But there's root beer, there's cherry, there's chocolate raspberry, there's chocolate, there's hazelnut, there's orange,
get the
there's
same
lemon,
coffee drink
vanilla
flavor without all of the sugar.
Hell yeah, you can, and it's the best thing for you because you can get your little fixes. And in fact, they do make a pumpkin spiced stevia form of sweetener. And I'll be honest with you, the thing is that when we talk pumpkin spice, now that's something that people hate or they love. But remember, it's the spices that make it. It's not the pumpkin flavor. You're not getting pumpkin, but you're getting nutmeg, cumin, cinnamon, all of those, allspice, not cumin. Sorry, cumin is a taco seasoning, which we can talk about as well as how to keep the sugar out of that. But allspice, those are all flavors in pumpkin pie, which you can add into your drinks. But I find that one of the most easy things to use is just start making real chai tea, not chai tea latte, but chai tea, and then you can add that into your coffee as well, which gives you a little extra snap of caffeine. But it will help with the flavoring as well.
Our kids would be perfect for this podcast because we were listening to a nutrition podcast on the way to church this morning talking about
Terry.
Antioxidants, and Brecken was all over that on what things that we can drink and consume, and he was excited that it was communion because we talked about red wine and how that's so good for
with resveratrol and antioxidants and all the OPCs that is in red wine. It's uncanny. But so what are some tips that we can give our parents going into this, Dr. Julie, of how can we reduce sugar in our kids' diets going back to school so they don't get so sick?
I think if you're going to start packing lunches, let's try and eat the rainbow.
Okay.
That's not to say that we have to deprive ourselves of, we can't have like an Oreo cookie in our lunch.
Okay.
But I think everything in moderation. And so if we can get those lunches packed, or if they're eating the school lunch, lots of times it's when kids come home from school, if we have homework or like I'm hangry and they're just like so hungry, the easiest thing to do is to already have those options prepped.
Oh,
what I found is when you
them.
have the snacks prepped. So if it's if it's carrots, if it's celery, broccoli, cauliflower,
cherry tomatoes,
like all of those things,
peppers.
If you can make those easy within reach, open up the fridge. I'm so hungry, and if those things are there, it's going to be that much easier for them to consume and have those things. And
what did they call those things in the grocery store? You were in that aisle. They were called like hand snacks.
Yeah.
Or weren't they? Yeah, like handheld snacks or something like that. And it was pre-cut vegetables, which you can do at home. Pre-cut fruit, which you can do at home. And cut up protein. So have summer sausage cut up. Have venison cut up. Have lean meats cut up for your kids to snack on when they get home. Because chances are they need protein. They don't need the sugar. So when they come home hangry, it's not the lack of sugar that's the issue. It's the lack of protein that was put in their diet. Because when we make meals for our children, whether we send them to school with meals or they get meals from school, those meals are usually pretty high carbohydrate laden, which is high sugar laden, which then suppresses their energy stores, and it's short-term energy consumption or energy use, right? So then they do come home tired. They do come home hangry. And if we're making food for our children, a lot of the times, even if we send like this thing, like we'll call them a Lunchable, let's say you make a homemade Lunchable, you're still sending crackers along with that kid. and you're sending more cheeses than you are protein, because protein's a little bit more expensive. But I will tell you that in the long term, if protein's expensive, that means that those stores in the body are actually taken like they are very, very valuable. You get what you pay for. You get the fuel that you add in. So if you're adding in protein, takes a little bit more time to break down, which gives you higher energy stores. It decreases hunger. It makes them feel better. Having good fiber in there as well is a key. So having them eat like apples, good fibrous containing fruits and veggies. Carrots are another good one too. Yes, these things do have sugar in them. I totally understand.
They're natural sugars.
But they're natural sugars. They don't give you that massive glucose spike. They do give you some, but then you don't get that massive insulin response either. So it helps keep the child more level. And also fiber decreases gastric emptying, so it slows it down, because fiber becomes more of a gel inside of the tummy, which then doesn't digest as fast, which then slows down digestion, slows down the amount of sugar pouring into the system, decreases the spike, decreases the insulin spike, and the child stays nice and level and happy instead of ticked off, hangry, and doesn't want to listen.
And I'm thinking this like from the mom side of like, oh my gosh, that all sounds so overwhelming. Like, how am I ever going to be able to do that? But I would say if like this is a new trajectory for you and your family, make it on a Sunday night. Start making it, okay, let's plan some snacks for the week and have everybody put the things together. If it's actually just like and how it's displayed is also super important.
Ooh, I like that. So make it a family event.
Make it a family event, but have them a part of that. Like some kiddos are like, I'm never going to eat a pepper, and all of a sudden you start cutting up sweet peppers, and maybe you need a little hummus to go with that. But just start small, I think, in carrots, and just be open to the possibility of like, wow, I think I really like this new fruit, I like this new vegetable. But just maybe start with one or two things in the fridge to make it easy to access for that child. Put it on their level in the fridge, or even like if you have that vegetable or that produce drawer that's not being used, like put your child's like label on it and be like, this is your after school snack. So then
responsibility.
It's their responsibility that they get to choose what they want in that. Yes. Because that's going to empower them to make those healthier choices and be excited of like, hey, I finished my drawer, or like, what can we put new in the drawer? And have them go to the grocery store with you to pick out some of those things. And like, what's this? Well, I'm not really sure what it is. Let's try it together, and, make it a fun adventure for them, and like photograph it, and what you can pair those fruits or vegetables with is going to be a fun adventure for that child.
Okay, and I think also remember, parents out there, your kids mirror your habits. They mirror what you do, and we have an episode on here called Do As I Do and As I Say, and you need to do this as well as parents. So if you're expecting your children to eat more healthy, to cut sugars out, you cannot be pounding sugar yourself. Not drinking the lattes that are from Starbucks. Not eating ice cream all the time.
I mean, even the energy drinks.
Pounding the sweets, doing the energy drinks. Like, there are other super healthy alternatives out there for energy drinks as well. We have stuff here at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers that is green tea extracts, and it really works. It really helps our patients out. Plus, it's sweetened with stevia. And those come in different flavors too. And it's not a product promotion, but those things are available. So I wanted to tell you right there that the alternatives are there that are available, but also adults. You need to make it fun and convenient for yourself as well. And there's that old adage of Dr. Andrew, who me and Dr. Julie know, it's Dr. Taylor's husband, and he made this comment one day. He goes, healthy food actually starts to taste good when you eat healthy. And I was like, well, that's kind of a double-handed comment, right? But it's actually the truth. That the healthier you start to eat, the better tasting super healthy foods taste, because you start tasting their natural sugars.
It's like you actually taste them for what
change
they are.
Your palate.
Your taste buds change. They actually grow.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you were dating me for a while. Like, you weren't a big fan, and then your palate changed, right? You're like, yeah, I guess this guy ain't so bad. It's the truth. So you know what you got. So now when we look at that, though, and we look at changing palates in adults, what are some things I feel and you feel? What are some things that you find easy for adults to make that quick switch, to take that super sugary palate away, and get them to start transitioning into super healthy foods that are actually really good for them, that taste great?
Get it out of the house.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if it's a clean cut of like, let's get everything out of the pantry, if those things aren't there for you to be able to grab and indulge and to eat, then that's a hard stop right there. But just like the kids, have those things prepped and ready to go. I know a lot of people, like when you're working every day and you're like, oh, what am I going to eat? And everybody's always running out to get their lunch. Start packing that lunch. Like for us, we always make sure, like when we make a meal, that we have leftovers. And so like we have that meal planned for us for lunch. Typically, there's a microwave that we can use, unlike some of our, schools. Sometimes kids don't have a microwave that they can use to warm it up. But then we have enough food for that week. Or start meal planning, meal prepping, and to make it super easy, convenient. And then if we want to talk work productivity goes up.
Well, we go back to the adage of like our coaches in the Black Diamond Club with Sean Dill and Lacey Book. They say work in sprints, right? Well, meal prep in sprints too. So if you know that you have on a Sunday, and you can make it a family activity, meal prep for the week. So know that you have 5 lunches to get rather, or if you've got kids too, maybe you have 10 lunches, maybe you have 15 lunches, but then you're doing it all at one time and working for an hour to 2 hours of meal prepping and get everything done. 1, decreases your stress during the week. 2, you've got stuff already planned out. But number 3, it's quick meals and afterwards. So if you're taking a half hour to an hour to meal prep food every day and dinner every day, think of it if you meal prepped it on a Sunday, or if you have somebody that can prep for you. Like if you hired a house manager or somebody to come and actually help.
There's like
there are chefs
that would be happy.
In fact, here in Green Bay there are, and we can connect you with them because there are some that just do personal stuff. And they're way cheaper than what you kind of feel.
Than what you would expect.
Than what you would expect. And all that stuff is actually laid out for you and done. Or if you like to do cooking on your own, like I know people that love to cook. We love to cook. Well, I love to cook. So, and because of that though, is like I enjoy cooking. I enjoy taking time to do it. But also it does take time. And me cooking food is a way for me to show love for my family and the people around me because it took me time to make it. But also there's times where I don't have time. And it's nice to have stuff done ahead of time where I can then take chicken, vegetables, a marinade that might be on that chicken and use it right away and get it out of the way for that week so I know what I'm doing that week, right? And also, it is also coming in, it's soup season. And that is a time saver in itself, is making soups. Seriously, when it's root soups versus clear base versus tomato soups, soups can be done on a Sunday or a Saturday, put in the fridge, and they will last all week. Same thing with chili. You can freeze them. All of these things can help. And I know that this podcast has been more of a family prep podcast, but this is how we fight off sickness and unhealthiness in our bodies.
If we can just start to decrease cortisol, which is decreasing our stress.
Yep.
So if we can get that under wrap, and then if we can get out all of the excess sugars, my goodness, the health of your family through these next 3 to 4 months, get you through that new year, is tremendously
well. And then there's another critical side of it, which is making sure your immune system is in fully contact with your nervous system. And that has to happen, is in full communication. And the only way to effectively fully do that is to see a chiropractor. Make sure your kids and yourselves' nervous systems are checked. Make sure that they're freely functioning and communicating like they should be, so your immune system actually fires and works at its optimal and actually can kill the viruses when they come in, maybe give you a fever, maybe have you puke, maybe have you get diarrhea.
Getting sick is not the bad thing.
No, it means your immune system's working.
It's how long that we remain sick, and if we're constantly getting sick.
Exactly. And that's when you know that things are suppressed. And knowing that, and knowing that you should be checked by a chiropractor, knowing that here at Prime Family Chiropractic Centers and here on the Prime Podcast, we are massive proponents of getting your nervous systems checked weekly, if not bi-weekly, and making sure that you stay healthy going into this season, because you know it as well as I do. What's going to be hitting the news shortly? The flu pandemic. What's going to be hitting the news shortly? Another upper respiratory virus will be making its way through, whether it's going to be pertussis, whether it's going to be talking about COVID again, pneumonia, influenza. These are all upper respiratory viruses that your body can actually naturally fight off with the proper use of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, and a really good diet, not laden in sugar. That dairy allows you sugar. Yes, dairy is sugar. There's tons of sugar in dairy as well. They actually put sugar in milk, and even in your milk substitutes. almond milk, rice milk, cashew milk, oat milk.
Looking at the sugar content.
Watch your sugar content. Not so much the calorie content, but the sugar content. I remember that when we were out getting lattes one day and me and you got oat milk, and one of the people we were with, they asked to see the back of the oat milk, and they looked at it like, wow, that's a lot of calories. I could care less about the calorie intake as much about the sugar intake. And if the sugar is way down but the calories are up, the body needs the calories to function. It doesn't need the sugar to function. And that is something that is extremely important to understand. The caloric load that your body needs, the caloric demand you put on your body, is between 2,000 and 2,500 calories a day. And whether you consume that and it's coming in the form of sugar, it eats up your calories fast. But if you have stuff that's low in sugar, the calories are still there, you're okay. And your body's going to function pretty dang awesome. So let us know if there's anything you can do for us. Dr. Julie, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Dr. Julie, is there anything else you'd like to add to this conversation or anything for those mamas to have out there for support?
No, I would say if you have any questions, I'd be happy to walk you through how to shop in the grocery store. If you're looking for meal planning ideas, let me know. I have many, many resources. Just drop your question below.
Share this episode as much as you possibly can so we can help keep all of those families in our community extremely healthy, and yours. Go out there, get it done. This is Dr. Skip. This is Dr. Julie. We love you and have a great day. Bye, everyone.